All right, go ahead. Paul.
I didn't know I was doing.
You got the hammer.
All this meeting in order of the Census Redistricting Advisory Committee. Roll call, Lori.
Lori's doing something else. We got Heather today.
Heather.
Brittany.
Here.
Richard. And Richard Fall.
Here.
Oh, here.
Right.
Ron Stendor. Gary Murray.
Here.
Here.
Matt McKenzie.
Here.
Captain Schutte.
Here.
Rick Corporal.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh.
She said it twice. So. Two Richards.
Number 2 on the agenda, election of officers. Nomination for chair.
I'll nominate Gary Mertig for chair.
Point of order. I think, doesn't our handbook or the law, whichever it is, state that if the chair is a part of the committee, he automatically becomes the chair of that subcommittee as well. So I think all we really need to do is elect the vice chair, and that the chair is already filled with the county chair.
I agree.
I'm pretty sure that's what the rules are, either Roberts or the law dictates that if the chair is a part of the subcommittee of another county committee, they automatically just become the chair of that committee, which would make sense.
So, Mark, what do we do?
So why don't you just vote?
I'll make a motion.
Why don't you just vote for Chairman Poofall will be the chair of this committee?
That's correct. When Chairman Poofall becomes the chair of this committee, and the next point of order would be to elect it.
I'll rescind my motion.
All right, so we're gonna nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Gary Mertig.
I'll second it. Any more nominations? Any more nominations?
It's not good.
So I have a unanimous vote for Gary Murray for vice chair.
We all vote yes.
All those in favor of that say aye.
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 Opposed? Congratulations. Another shot.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Is it Martin, we think?
Yeah.
So,
Without making it too hard to come back in and out. Hey, Marty?
Yes.
Yeah, are you able to mute your phone?
Am I making? I don't know.
Oh, okay. That's fine, because we're getting a lot of feedback, but that's fine.
Yeah, we can hear your colleague.
I'll put it in my pocket.
Well, wait, that's what's causing the interference. It's Mike.
We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Also move.
Second.
Motion by Gary Murray, second by Kathy Schutte. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Public comments. No public on the phone.
Marty's the only one on the phone.
Okay. We'll go on to redistricting guidelines.
All right, so you guys had the WCA redistricting handbook provided to you guys. This is a nice summary of the state statutes and then just a little bit of extra information to the process that we are tasked with. So on page 4, kind of page bottom of 3 into 4 is step 1. So that is what we are in right now. And we are making the tentative plan for the supervisor districts. So some of the things we should follow on this is getting the same amount of people in each district. That is priority number one.
What is that number?
763.
Oh, and that was my question in looking at this. It's 763, but if for clerks in the towns to make their life easier, if we made one district 780 and the other one 750 as an example,
right,
we can do that?
We can do that. So the guidance is we want to stay within 10% of that number, either way, so -10 or 10% above it. So that gives us about an 80 population plus or minus.
Okay, and the reason I say this, and being Heather's here would know, we have townships who wind up with several county board reps in their district, which makes their life at election time a nightmare.
Right.
Do you live in Ward 1 or Ward 2? Town of Peaksville is that way, or the village of Butternut is that way. And so some people have asked me, well, the clerks, and said, is there any way you can do that? So that was a question I had is, you know, if one district swapped 10, 12 votes, would that make a difference or so, make it their life easier? So.
We could do lines at the districts that we have, at the municipalities that we have. But as you can see, looking at the handout that I printed out this morning for Kathy's request, sorry for the people at home that don't have this, we can get it sent out. It is the list of the estimates per municipality. So let's see, off the top of my head, I'm thinking White River at 947. So that's above our,
right,
our cutoff of that 10% that we're shooting for.
How about the town of Jingles?
Can we really look at those numbers, just to interrupt for a second, because we're not set up based on town lines, we're set up on our lines.
Right.
So if you look, like at the town of White River, of course, that one's complete within there, but if you look below that, the town of Ringo is split. We have some in 20 and
Right.
20 and some in 18.
So Gary was asking, can we try to stick to the municipality lines? And that's, we can attempt to, but with
Right.
some of them, we're gonna need to split them.
Right, and I understand that, but I'll give you the example, and
Yep.
it affects me and some others. If currently, if you look at the bottom of the map, I have the full town of Agenda, I have one ward in Peaksville, and I have the village up to line Highway 13. There's a small group of people in the village of Butternut in Kathy's.
Gary, what page are you on?
It's right, your districts in with this one, it's the,
The
yeah.
colorful map, yep.
And so just looking at that, if you took Peaksville out of my district and gave me all of Agenda and all of Butternut, I'd be at 786.
Correct.
Now, that does mean that somebody would have to pick up that ward in Peaksville, which would be like John Wiener's district.
Yeah.
And then Kathy would lose a couple people in the village of Butternut, but she's still, and I'm only saying that because it makes town of Peaksville, if that's accomplishable, that clerk to have to deal with one election, and in the village of Butternut to deal with one election. Now, I understand, or in the county board, and I understand some of these other districts would swing a couple of votes, but there aren't a ton of votes in this area. In matter of fact, Peaksville's got 141.
Right.
In 2 wards, but and Matt's right, there a lot of our other, like Kathy's got the strangest district because of lack of population, but she's got like a fourth of the county.
So I think we should
territory.
talk about that in the future
Sure.
agenda items.
Yep.
And get into that.
That's fine.
So the first thing we want to do is try to keep that population at 763 or within the 10% above or below that.
Okay.
And then the next thing we're looking at is keeping these districts in continuity, I think is the word that they use. I'm not sure what word they use, but it just means we don't have floating islands, so except for the literal islands. So that all of the district is touching itself, there's none. Yep, contiguous, that's the word I'm looking for. And then the other thing that kind of gets into gray areas is looking at minority populations. So it is our duty to not split up the reservation. There are more majority population than minority population. We need to make sure that the minority populations stay above the rate of majority populations.
Got it.
I'm not sure I understand. So, Town of Sanborn. $13.31. And then also, and then we split some of that with the island.
So page 10 is where the handbook talks about that specifically.
Page 10.
Yeah. Do you have a highlighter up there?
Yeah.
So it's just saying that we don't want to dilute the minority population's voting power
So the.
to the best of our ability.
Okay, so currently they're in 12, which includes the island. And that line across that,
12 and 13.
yeah. So how many below this line where we get into 13, how many minority are in there? Are we diluting them by cutting some of them off from the other?
So
area?
because of our magic number of 763, we are going to have to split the reservation in some sense. It's just we have to make sure that we don't, that we're comfortable as a committee with our number split with our majority population and minority populations.
Okay, so the vast majority we think are above this line?
The redistricting software provides those numbers.
Okay.
My computer froze and just
That's
refreshed.
fine. I just didn't know it's in 13, District 13, how many minority are there if we.
And that's the whole thing. You start looking at a lot of the population in the town of Sanborn runs along Highway 2. So we're kind of splitting it. That's
In District 13 on the old districts, there are 125 white people and 630 Native Americans, 25 Hispanics, and 2 African American, black, it says black, but yes, African American people. There are also 2 Pacific Islanders and then 2 others.
And that's 13?
That is the old District 13, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have 12? Can you give us 12?
They do. That is 414 white people, 25 African American.
How many African American?
25. 47 Hispanic, 2 Asian, and 509 Native American. 509. And then 3 other.
What's the other?
Aliens.
I don't know.
I know.
So 414 natives in 12 and 630 in 13.
Correct.
Okay.
I believe that the rest of the races that I spoke of count for that minority, but I don't exactly know how that breaks out legally.
And we'll get into that when we start looking at the proposed plans. You know, so she has new numbers and a proposed plan for you to look at, 2 plans actually.
Right.
Yeah, that I just wasn't clear on what they meant by that. I'll make sure we're not doing that.
Right. So the software does provide us with a total number of, if you flip back to page 9, the bottom of page 9, it says acceptable deviation, which is the 10% item that I was talking about. So our end goal would be a 10% deviation of the whole plan. Our current lines were at 48% deviation. So we were way over. So yeah. But with our population, like half of the county's population is in the city of Ashland. So it's very hard to get that deviation down to 10% because the rest of the county is so large with such little population.
I understand that.
So those were the main items I wanted to bring up with the guidelines. Did you guys see anything that you wanted to talk about in that document?
Aren't the lines supposed to be along some of these identifiable, like road, railroad, stream or something, so they know I'm on this side, I go here?
That is helpful for the municipalities. However, it is not a requirement of us. The lines have to be broken with the US Census blocks. So the blocks are provided to us and they are really wonky. They're all over the place. So we're just not allowed to split a block. I guess I mentioned one other thing. If we do split a municipality, we have to give them written notice of what the population is and the wards that we split it. And it's in our favor to work with the municipality on how they would like to split it, if they have their own suggestions. But in the end of it, we are the final word, right? So that's all I had on guidelines. If you want to move on to the next item.
Next item.
Yes. Number 6, redistricting timeline.
Clark, I did not put anything together on that.
Yeah, I just have what we talked about before. You've seen this before at county board meetings. So you're at the 24th. We're basically going to be publishing a first notice on the 31st. And then if you want to meet again, based on what this committee does, we could meet again on September 7th, possibly. And then public notice 2, public notice 3. County board will basically be looking at this on September 16th and be adopting the plan. You'll turn it over to municipalities on the 17th. Municipalities will turn it back to the county on October 18th. Your redistricting committee will meet back on October 21st to meet and approve final plan, and then you'll publish notices, and then county board adopts it on November 9th. So it's just a tentative timeline there. So the September 7th meeting for redistricting is optional. That's, if you guys are if you are fully supportive of the plan, that's presented today, you don't have to meet again. And then you can just take it right to the county board. So.
Well, that's a question.
No, okay, so that's it for that.
Where'd you get this from?
I don't know.
It's attached to,
Can you pay for it from the district?
I will print the timeline for you guys right now.
I have it in here actually.
Cool. Do you have copies for everybody? Perfect. Heather has it already.
All right, there's 1 of 7.
Yep.
Historic supervisor district maps.
Thank you.
So I wanted to just provide what I could come up with as our historic maps. So we've all been looking at the 2010 one today already. That's what we're currently under. And then I also provided the 2020 maps, just so you guys had some reference on what they used to look like in the past too. So you can see there's a fair amount of change between 2020 to 2010. And the only background I have is that UW Extension did the 2010 version. That's all I had on that one. So
Great.
yeah.
Review draft plan.
Okay, so Clark, if you want to go to the links. Perfect.
And you want them all, sir?
Yep.
Okay.
So the first plan, Plan A, is just our current supervisor districts as we have them. So as you can see, this is still got, you know, this is the one we're working on. So District 20 is very large. And this is the table where I'm pulling these numbers. So just for reference, District 20. The internet is very slow today. Here. I don't know what's going on, but
It's been slow for 18 months.
Clark, do you see refresh on your screen? There it is. Yeah. Let's try to refresh that. Okay, so without clicking on it, you can just see some numbers here. I guess we'll talk about one since the.
So this is the option where everything stays as it is right now.
Correct. Yep. So right here, it provides that deviation number. And you can see District 2 is 16% below our number. So it's at 539. What else jumps out here? We're at District 9. I think that's also in the city of Ashland. We're at 542. So it's 14% below our number. Moving down, we got District 15. Is that White River? They're at 20% over.
About District 14?
District 14 is at -3%. So they're under 25 people, and then District 15 is over 150 people. District 20 has 819 people, and it is at 7%. So it fits the 10% rule right now, but spatially it's very large. Let's see, District 12 here is at 1,007 people as it stands. So that's very large. That's the 32% deviation.
I say we should increase it.
So yeah, we're looking for numbers like this right here. So -5 fits, or the 3%, the -2, -6. So we're just looking from anything from 10% to -10%. That's what we're shooting for.
In that group.
Yeah, in each district. Correct.
So like Ward 2 is under almost 17%.
Right. That's a big deviation there. So that's our old plan. So I did do some work on a new plan. And so we'll just start at the bottom because that's our contentious districts. So I see this color is wrong, so I'm just going to refresh the page real quick. Okay, that looks better. So for 21, this is what I got. This blue line is the town of Peaksville, so I split it with 13 there, but really there's only 9 more, so we could encompass it all to fit in that without having the word
And
split.
see, that's what the clerks are just asking. They're not saying
Right.
do it. They're saying, could we alleviate the problems at election point by having one
Less
person
wards.
represent that ward, or instead of having 2 wards? Do you live on that side of 13? And
Right.
that's all they're asking. If it doesn't deviate, you're saying right now 21 is just real close.
Yeah, so we could definitely add those
If you put those 9 people in there,
15 people or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
then you really wouldn't have
2 clerks.
you'd be all close, yeah.
Yes. So that wouldn't affect our numbers. That would still put us at a good number deviation wise. So then I just split it with the town line, and then for
Okay, now in Butternut, is it
it is split down 13.
13? What's the numbers on the other side of 13?
It looks like we've got
10 and 12 and 5.
maybe 50, because I think there's 30, so maybe more like 70 there.
The problem is if you take those away from 20,
Right.
20's
20 really
20's gonna
needs,
go outside of your range.
20 needs
20 needs to,
the population.
you can't take from 20.
It just depends on who's in 18, 17, 15.
Right. So we do have as the committee, you guys have, I'm gonna demo how to do this, but I'll give you the login so that you guys can mess with this if you want to. You can create your own plans and present them to us too.
I don't think we're qualified to do that because we
Well,
don't know what the rules are
If there's
either.
any interest, so the rules are in the handbook.
Yeah, but no.
And I can look over the plans too.
What if we looked at something like town of Brandon, town of Chippewa? Because then you'd have all of the village of Butternut within that district. I mean, if you look at the town of White River, which has had a large increase, we could make up numbers for 20 that direction if we needed to.
Right, so you're saying put agenda, Village of Butternut and Chippewa together?
Yes.
That puts us over. I would have to get those numbers to you, but when I was presenting this, I did try that and
It didn't.
yeah,
This is not an easy job, Brittany.
it's okay.
All right, I missed Butternut there, that it was held off, I thought it was included in both the agenda and Chippewa, I see.
So 420, we've got that little section of the village. This little section of Peaksville that we can easily exclude, but that is going to take 15, I think the number was, away from District 20. And they're right at that -7%, so I can see what that does.
But you can deviate by 10.
Correct. So we'll see if 15 fits that.
Because what you're talking about right now, if you took those few people on the other side of 13 and Butternut and put it into 21, and you take that Peaksville and straighten that few people out, you would eliminate 2 clerks from having to look where people are coming from.
To look for wards, right?
You
How
should,
about school boards?
So
That was the other thing I was
What's that?
concerned about, is the school districts.
But, well, in Peaksville has nobody in the. No, Peaksville's in the Chequamegon district. The village of Butternut, town of Agenda, town of Chippewa, and part of Lake and Price's school district.
Right.
Yeah. So that would.
I'm just thinking, you know, we look, I don't know what they are, but you know, if we could avoid splitting or, you know, and
Yeah.
school district elections.
The school.
So our school
elections
districts are very large.
Yeah, and they're
I can pull them up.
every
for that.
member is elected at large from everyone, so there's no
Okay.
concern on where you live as long as you're in the district.
Right, and the children can go wherever. Now they no longer
Yeah.
fit to districts. Yeah. So Gary, what were you?
Okay, so the village of Butternut currently, the only area I don't represent is those few people on the
on that
west
senior,
side of.
the senior
13.
citizen area.
Yeah,
Okay, across the railroad tracks there.
no, actually
No.
across Highway 13.
Oh, 13.
Yeah.
It's on the west side of 13.
There isn't a lot of people there in the village.
I think I have 4 or 5.
You get, yeah, I mean, there aren't a lot of voters, but potentially there are, but they don't vote.
You know where Maxine's at?
No, Maxine's in Chippewa.
Maxine's
Yeah.
in Chippewa.
And she's in.
So it looks like the village split would be the same. And like I said, there's about, you see 31, 16, 18, 12, 5. I'm not a math whiz, but that probably puts us around 70.
And I already,
So if we took 70 from 20, that
Wouldn't work.
yeah. Because 20 is already low. 20 is at 709 people and we're shooting for 763.
and there's no one, nowhere, because 18 is, I don't know, that line is, look at the 18 and 19 or 20's line there. There isn't folks in here to.
We
make
can,
that.
yeah, why don't we move up and start to look at some of these others? So 19 is Gordon, Glidden, and the rest of that northern chunk of Jacobs.
That's John Wieners, right?
No, John is Jacobs, Peaksville Ward, whatever Ward 1 and 2 there are, but
Yeah, John lives in Jacobs.
yeah, and Jacobs has 716 people just in town of Jacobs.
Yeah, so for me, the struggle was what to do with Clam Lake. But they had maybe 100 people around there, so I just put them in with Glidden in town of Jacobs.
So Clam Lake would go to Glidden, would go to.
The district goes
Yeah.
all the way across. Yep. Yep. So this one right here. And Clam Lake's right here.
Oh, wait a second, wait, let me, so I can see this. If 19 then goes across, are you saying that Kathy would have south of that and north of that?
Nope, Kathy
Oh, I
lives.
see, your line is, your map is off a little bit there.
Yep, Kathy lives somewhere up here. I don't know exactly where Kathy lives, but
I think by the number 12. Right there.
okay.
Okay, but then just scroll that down once, because her line stops.
right here with the
Oh.
town of Marengo.
What happens to Chippewa then?
Chippewa
And
would
Chattanooga?
become yours. That would become your,
Okay, okay, then,
yeah,
okay, that's fine, because currently Kathy has Chippewa all the way up to Marengo.
correct,
Okay.
right.
Oh, that's fine.
So you would cover all of Shannon Golden and then the outskirts of Glidden.
Well, no, not in 20. 20 would be John Wiener, right?
No, 20 is me.
But that can't work that way. Because
So
she's got you to the north.
John lives on. Glen.
John is Jacobs and Peaksville, that orange to the upper right. That's John.
That's what I
Just a
said.
thought here, I think instead of looking where people live,
Right.
we should be looking at the lines. of what
Correct.
Makes sense,
Well-
and not concern ourselves with where somebody lives.
Right.
That's what got us into this mess the last time.
I was just questioning that because it appears as if Kathy lost count of Chippewa.
Yes, Kathy, if elected, would just cover the town of Marengo plus a little bit of White River, which is the Sanborn area.
Okay,
So it would go into the town of White River then?
Correct, because the town of Marengo does not have 700 and
They have 300
right, so we had to steal some population from the town of White River.
because they have 900 and stuff.
So you also would cover some of town of Ashland. So I think that's the Brunweiler River right here.
Yeah.
Or, yeah. So to the west of that, Kathy, would also be part of your new district, District 16. So the town of Ashland really takes the brunt on ward creation though, because it would give them 3 wards. It would give them part of District 16, part of District 18, which is Morse, and then part of District 17, which is City of Mellon. And so again, we have a river here, and I do not know what this river is. Something Creek.
Is that Billy Creek?
Hey, zoom on just a little bit. I think what you're looking at is bad.
The bad comes up this way, right? Oh, that's the bad river there?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
But so all of these are fitting that within 10% deviation.
is it possible, because if all of those words that you laid out are within that 10%, is it possible, we don't have that particular map in here, do we?
Flip that one.
Okay,
Flip it one page, you should have one more. That's not. Let's look at that one. Gary, I will print that for you real quick.
I'll take one too.
When you're
Yeah,
done with
yeah.
that, I'd like to see how you're dividing up the town of Morris, which used to be 18.
Is that Doreen's?
Heather, could you go pick those up for me? Thank you. And copies. It's gonna be in black and white, so apologies for that, but it should work for you. Okay, so you wanted to see district.
Yeah, I was common war's gonna change.
So starting at the bottom, it just follows the district lines. To get 17 greater population, it gets a little wonky here.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Yeah, so the problem is this block right here is very large.
So 17 is gonna come down and kind of follow the river there.
Correct, and then follow North Foley Road right here. This is that edge.
Okay. And then go south.
Yep. So then this is all the town of Morris district, District 18. So City of Mellon also splits off here with this little sliver, and that's a road. I'm blanking on the name of it, but that follows a road. Is that Cornstead? I think. Yeah. So north of Cornstead.
Instead of it's coming out of Mellon there in the middle.
Yes. Yeah.
Probably is.
Yeah. And
Where does
then,
it run up? Is that just a town line then?
yes, correct. So then coming.
So the city of Mellon would just be the city of Mellon. And everything outside, almost everything else outside of the city. The 18, according to this map here.
Excluding going north, we encompassed up 169 on both sides. So Hagen Road and North Hagen there, those populations would go to the city.
Okay, so that would still be part of the city there. This.
Correct, yep. And then they're up past the entrance to the state park. Up past that a ways would also be City of Mellon district.
Well, that kind of makes sense.
They just needed some more population, and these were kind of the smallest blocks I could grab without going miles.
Itself right now is 710, right? According to the.
Yeah, 710.
Yep.
So
To fix the issue with District 20, I had to shuffle everything.
Okay, now, here's my question. So 20 would have a brand new supervisor. This is Kathy currently.
You would be District 20.
No, can't be. Live in 21.
Oh, you live in 21?
Yeah.
Okay,
So 20 would have a new.
so
supervisor.
district, yeah, someone would be
Okay.
a brand new person from
That's fine.
who lives in 20.
Okay.
Because I think John would live in 19 as this stands.
Correct. Yes.
So John will be here. This would be me. Gary would be 21.
Yep.
Would Gary be 20 and 21?
No.
Nope, we'd have a brand new elected official
Oh.
from 20.
A new person
Yeah.
here, and Gary's here.
how many would 18 have? If we just made 17 in the city of Mellon.
So right now, 18 is large. It is at 815.
815.
Yep. And it's at a 6.8% deviation as it stands.
17 is how many as you have?
796.
So there'd be roughly 86 people that would go to the 18 if we made Mellon just Mellon.
So District 18 would have to be recut up because it wouldn't be able to accept
That many.
the population that we cut out of 17. So then we start to butt into new District 16, which is at 831, which is 8.9% deviation. So we would not be able to split the town of Ashland. We wouldn't be able to give it any more to 16. 16 is pretty much set. It would be hard to split more there. Plus it's following the Brunsweiler, which is a nice.
So the town of Ashland. Is how many?
On this plan, the town of Ashland has, it has 3 wards right now. How many are you looking for?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So they're gonna 16, the old 16.
So to get the town of Marengo's new district of 16, I had to come take some of town of Ashland's population, along with town of White Rivers.
So the north part of 16 would be, the cutoff would be where?
112, and then the little road that shoots over. I'm not sure.
Is there anybody living in that lobe of 18? That juts up to the north?
2.
On the new plan or old plan?
On the new one.
Go to the top of that Ashland, town of Ashland.
The little
That little piece. Oh,
that
there's
has 2
8.
people.
Pretty good.
Big area too.
It is a very big area. Yeah.
Wouldn't it make sense to lock that off and give it to 13?
To 13 has 977 people.
Oh,
Because we can, why don't we go up and talk about that? So I am having, my biggest issue here is what to do with the reservation. So a lot of the population, as you guys know, falls in the area of Odena, New Odena. And then there's also a significant amount of populations out on what they call Frank's Field, and then the Birch Hill, the big hill up out there. So a majority of that population falls along 13 and not down here. There's almost nobody down in this part. So without splitting New Odena in half, I'm not exactly sure how to get a district down to size. Would you guys be okay with splitting Odena in half? I think keeping the community together would be best.
I think that's the best.
Right.
I wouldn't split Odena.
well, there's 2 ways to look at that.
It's already split.
Yeah, if you split them, they maybe get double representation. From their perspective.
If our minority counts are there, yeah.
Right. I mean, basically, we are saying, okay, right now you're all together, probably get 1 rep. And they vote. If they vote, they could potentially get 2 reps. You know, maybe and maybe not, but
Right.
I mean.
So if, yeah, so if I was to split that with the Kakagan that kind of splits Odena, I think that's the river there. I could try looking at that a little bit closer, because right now I have it split on the Bad River.
Okay.
Which is where Old Odena is.
So we're looking at keeping a point with 12.
The point is still 12, yes. There are some changes to out by Breddings, that north or that Lakeview Road. I was going to give that to the city of Ashland.
Which one?
The road that you go out by Breddings. Lake Park Road, yep. And then I think Johnson Road is where the split on that would be. So with this, I did not touch the city of Ashland districts, which still gives us some major deviations, like District 2 is at 16%, negative 16% still. So I'll just preface, I got this data on last Monday. So I spent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday throwing this tentative plan together for you guys so that we could get it in the mail on time for this meeting. So this is just what I could throw together. And half of our population is in the city of Ashland. So that's going to take some time too. I'm probably going to need another 3 days to do the city of Ashland to correct that, because
That'd be you.
so
Never mind.
Has the city started their work at all on their redistricting?
I reached out to the towns on the clerks on Tuesday or Wednesday, might have been Wednesday, and I haven't heard back from any of them. So I think I might need to call them, because I did send them all of these links and everything, but I haven't heard back. So
your original question about 12.
yeah,
is whether or not we should move that line.
I would lean towards it because they are our biggest deviation at this point. 13 is at a 28% deviation, so that's very large, and I would like to see that get better, smaller.
How much is, let's see, the point is 272.
That's, I don't know what to do with LaPointe.
If we took LaPointe away from 12, what would that do to the number there?
12 right now is at 758. That includes a point. So if we took 300 away, they're at 400.
The old plan.
12 on the old plan with the point, and north of 13 is 758. I think that excludes Franks Field from the LaPointe district.
I was just looking at it, LaPointe was split off from 12 or 13, but that's all our solution does.
Yeah. I know that I've heard LaPointe wants to be their own district, but they just don't have the numbers to do that. So I don't know where to pull population for LaPointe.
I don't know that you have, if they don't go with 12 or 13, you have to go with the city. How else would you do it?
Right.
It would be contiguous.
I understand the issues from the islanders.
Right.
But I also understand that Bad River likes having the island under their district. Now, you know, that's a perspective from both sides.
Right.
Because I've heard from both sides, but the tribe likes having Madeline Island.
Yes.
And like I say, I do know the residents would like to do something different, but
right.
Like you say,
I don't know where to, yeah.
Yeah, where would you put them?
Yeah.
Put them with the city, but then you got to make up that gap for 12 and 13. That's going to change that plan dramatically.
Right. Right.
Which,
because that's about 300 people.
and then where do you get rid of, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but how do you shift 300 people somewhere else in that area?
This is not an easy job.
It's like a puzzle, just gotta figure it out.
Under your new plan.
Yep.
How many are in 14?
785.
So they're good.
And it dips down into the town of White River. I'm wondering if that's like Tappanee Road there. Right, it's down to.
Gotcha.
So again, White River would then see 3 wards. So their clerk.
Heather.
Oh, sorry, Heather.
There's gotta be some complicated stuff once in a while when you're doing things, because then you split the fire department down there too. Don't you? Like, or something like that.
Yes. They share it. What about leaving the county the way it is?
Also, bringing in another school district in that one.
Leaving the lines as they lay. I mean, that's an option on the table. It's there. Our deviations are pretty big on that one. So but it's an option.
Can I ask or bring up a subject? For the District 20 that I represent, it's 5 town boards. It's a lot of miles to go to a meeting.
Yeah.
You know, I've done it all these years and I never get paid anything to go do it. And that, at least if I could have gotten mileage and some money when I went to a meeting, you wouldn't mind doing it. But, you know, if they could compensate me for that, I wouldn't mind doing it.
That would probably be a county board request.
That way everything could stay the same and I'd at least get some gas mileage to go to a meeting.
There's a, you know, part of the compensation for elected officials is, according to WCA, elected officials agree for their, you can change the policy per diem, but as far as that, you need to keep it the same during your terms. Your next terms, the county board could make different decisions, but during a term you can't.
So if they pass something, it could be effective 2022 April and for the next.
Okay. When the new district
you'd have to make that decision in November though, in order to make sure that when people took out papers, they knew exactly what it,
right.
you know, what was your compensation as a county board.
Right. The only problem with that type of philosophy is then the elected official would elect to or not to attend the meeting. And that goes down a dangerous road, no offense.
Say that again, Gary.
Well, if the county got involved in telling the county board supervisor that they could get paid to go to a town meeting, it would be, we could have county board members going to 20 town board meetings. The county has a meeting to talk about road signs. Well, county board members going to go and get paid. We could be in a dangerous situation. I know what you're saying because I go to all those meetings too. But I fear that somebody would say, okay, I represent 4 towns. I'm going to go to every town meeting they have, no matter what it is. And that could be an issue.
Yeah,
So
I think you could argue that, why do you need to go? You could get the minutes and read the minutes if you want to know what's going on in those meetings as well. I mean, you're there to represent the county, you're not there to represent the town as such.
Matt, I'll give you an example. When we did the.
I don't want to argue, but I'm just saying.
No, I'm not arguing. I just want to explain my position. So Pat Kinney came to me this year and he said, Kathy, nobody's sending in surveys from your district. You need to go down there and bring them a survey and get them to do that. So I've met with every town board and had them fill out the surveys while I was there and I handed them back into Clark. But that didn't mean that I went there on one day. I had to go to their monthly meetings. And this is an unusual case. This does not happen all the time, but maybe it could say on special occasions or once a year, or you could go to a town meeting, but it's 5 town boards you have to meet with. It isn't 1 or 2, it's 5. It's a big district.
And that's why this proposal would eliminate some of that. Because now all of a sudden your district becomes geographically smaller. I still, going back to Bad River, I don't know if we settled that issue or not, but
Oh, we split them, that's it.
So
If we don't split them, like right there, you're proposing that this looks like along the Bad River.
right now, yes, yeah.
And that line has to go farther east in order to get District 13 down how many people?
Roughly, it's over by 210, so probably 120 people.
Put that, but you can't put that 120 people in 12 because you're already, or you could put some of them, right?
Yeah, 12 is under right now, so I could put them with 12.
Okay. I think that'd be a good solution. I think I agree with, with Gary, where I think they want to keep the island within there, and this gives them opportunity for possibly 2 representatives that are, tribal members.
From the minority population, yeah.
And so you're basically, if you took that, what's that other, it goes right through Ordina there?
That is the Kakagan. I'm not sure what it.
Yeah, if you took this.
Yep.
Of course, that's too many. You got 100, 110. Yeah, you got too many there.
It's gonna have to be a weird selective.
It's gonna have to be somewhere in here.
Yeah.
Maybe come up here, come here, come here.
Right.
I got 40, 50, 60. What's going up here?
Nobody's up there.
Nobody's up there. So we're still a little short. So we'd have to come in and grab. So we basically took this, followed this up, came here, did this, and then carried that. Basically, these 3 plus that would get us down to that number.
If we left the district as it was for 12 and 13, what would the numbers be for those
2? So the old 13.
With the new numbers.
Oh, I would have to sit there and draw the.
Maybe we're trying to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed. I mean, 12 and 13 right now encompass the island and have, roughly equal numbers for, we weren't offsetting or dividing minorities there.
So old 13 has a deviation of 28%. They have 977 people.
So if you kept the same lines, you still have to fix it.
Correct.
Okay. And that was 13. What did 12 have?
12 had 758.
About 758.
So you give a few more people to 12 from 13, right?
Yes. I don't know. I don't think that would eliminate the 28 deviation though. I think we'd still be 8% over on one of them. Because right now we're at a -5 deviation and then a 28 deviation. So if we were able to split that with 10 and 10, we'd still have somebody with an 8 extra deviation.
But it's not 10. Isn't 10% your threshold?
Correct. So it would be, someone would still be over.
We'd be a lot closer. 10 is better than 28.
Correct. Correct. It would be 10 and 18 is what our deviations would be if we tried to split that.
Oh, you'd still be over 18.
You'd still be over 18%, correct. Yeah.
We have no problem meeting numbers for 12 and 13. It's a matter of how do we split some off of there to go somewhere else.
Correct.
Without, you know, subjecting ourselves to the accusation that was.
So I did take some over here on the lake shore and put it into District 10, which is the city of Ashland district right now.
Again, how many people does it show there?
43, 21, and 10. So 170 again, somewhere in there.
So they would then be part of the city?
Yeah. And that is Johnson Road.
Is that the road that goes out to the lake?
That is Reichbell Road. So that is one more. That's this road right here.
So
with
they
the
would,
boat landing.
They would go to the city to vote then, even though they live in the town there?
Correct. Well, no, they would still be, they would be Ward 1 of town of Sanborn. So they would go to the town, but they would have to know that they are in Ward 1. Words are very confusing.
Words are very confusing.
Is there any place else we can, besides there, that we could split off of? Would have to be somewhere from the, I don't know how you do it.
Jingles is pretty full. They're at 785, so we can't really split any down to Jingles. So it would have to go to the city.
Well, there's not a great enough population in the part of Jingles that bumps up to there to help us, is there?
I see 15 and 6 and 3 and maybe a 29. Yeah.
We're good. We probably should need an extra one. Just to let you know.
Another ward?
Another supervisor.
Oh, another super. Well, we could take one from the city of Ashland and make a brand new. I'm just kidding.
Don't do
The
that.
city's talking about reducing the number of seats that they have.
Right.
That they were.
So the city, interesting enough, has a lot of negative numbers. So a -1 deviation, a -16 deviation, a -4 deviation, 3, -6, -9, -7.7, -14, and then a 4% and a -5. So the city is just full of negative deviation, which relatively they're okay. They're in that 10 range, except for District 2 and District 9 is at -14.
Does the city fix that or do we fix that?
Technically, we fix it and then present it to the city, and then they tell us what they think, and then we get the final rule on it.
Okay.
So I personally don't think we're ready to send this to county board.
No, we are not ready to send this to county board.
So I have some notes here. Just looking at Peaksville to get rid of that little 15% population so they don't have a ward. I think I should be able to do that with no problems. Matt, I believe you requested numbers for if we did Chippewa Village and agenda together. And I know that's gonna put us over, but
I don't think we can do that. And when I was looking at it, I didn't look close enough, and I didn't realize that Village of Butternut was a separate number here in their census.
Okay, yep.
So that puts us way over there.
Gotcha. And then I have another note to just kind of keep working on District 12 and 13
Okay.
and see what I can come up with there to get those numbers better.
And then the other option is to leave the district or the thing the same.
Yes, but we still have a very large deviation if we leave 12 and 13 the same. because we're still dealing with a 8% deviation on the old District 13.
Okay,
So we're over by 200 people on that one. So I'll try to see what I can do with the District 12 and 13 and come back with more around that 10% to negative 10% number. Is there anything else you guys would recommend in working through this?
It'd be tough.
it's not an easy job.
No,
Randy.
it's not.
I do like this proposal with whatever changes we need to make, you know, in the city, depending what the city does with theirs, but the city's a little easier simply because you can go down a block. The streets are laid out, you can take if you
Right.
need 10 more people, you can get it from one block or something.
We
but-
do have some very large blocks, which
Right.
like this one right here is 293 people, which is pretty frustrating to work with.
Right.
And this is 185, but that's kind of more rural. This one's got 270 and it's a very large block, so. But for the most, the blocks are small and easily peaceable. So I think I'll reach out to the city of Ashland and figure out who exactly is doing their redistricting work and kind of work with them directly.
Yes, include them in that, or
I would suggest also if we could get the city of Mellon to be just the city of Mellon more, that would be fine too. I think that would make some issues less confusing because, you know, there is a difference between. So Mellon in itself would have a, you know, with the 10% variance would be fine because they're at 710.
Right, so Mellon is fine, it's Morse, the town of Morse, because as I have Morse right now, this weird donut of Morse, they're at 815. So I don't know who I could give without doing some.
in the olden days, Morris used to be part of town of Marengo. When I was on in 1992, it was Marengo and Morris.
Right.
Because they touch.
So I do have some of town of Ashland, not town of Morris, because
Yeah.
down here in Morris, there's just like no people
Right.
in the forest.
Yeah, the problem is if you take out of, you take 17 and decrease the numbers and put it in 18, 18 is gonna be over. And then you gotta take that and you gotta push those people somewhere else.
The whole county gets redesigned,
Yes.
and we don't want that.
Well, that's what we're doing right now, but this is your
Yeah.
chance to do that. But I mean, the problem is we don't have much time. In a normal course, you guys would have a couple of months to do this.
Right.
And you could have meeting after meeting after meeting. We don't, because of the way the census came out, their next meeting is gonna be on the 7th of September. So we'll come back with, more information on the 7th. And it's gotta go to county board on the 16th. So that means on the 7th, we pretty much have to almost land on it because we're gonna have to put that packet out on the 9th or the 10th.
That's up to you. Take care of it.
Heather, what were you guys, did you guys have ideas over there? Because
I was just wondering if we could take that little sliver of 16, which would be Kathy's district, right-hand side there, that little sliver. Remove that, put that back into town of Morris, but then take the lower part, like Kathy was saying, how they had it before.
Right.
Or just maybe a smaller block of that into that district. I don't.
right,
I don't know.
yeah, so
Because then that would, because town of Ashland is split up so much right now.
yeah, it is. I know.
And I mean, White River is too, I just think it because right now, town of White River is gonna go from 2 ballots to about 4 different ballots.
And that's really complicated. on
It
that
is,
sheet.
because Marengo already has that.
Yes, and that's not gonna
It is.
change. Yes.
So, okay, so if we do that, we could do that. What do we do with the extra population that comes back to 15?
That's, yeah, I don't know.
Because they're 15's at its max right now. They're at an 8% deviation.
Or could we,
I
I mean,
could,
15 would have to go north, you just keep bumping everybody up north.
could we
but then we look at the city.
do 2 wards instead of 3 wards somehow?
Yeah,
Maybe.
we, instead of, so 14 could maybe encompass this. But that puts us, that's over 100 right there in that block. They're at a 2%, so it might work. That might work, but that, you know, at least White River would have 2 wards instead of 3.
That, I mean, who is equal, should we get a little
Right.
confusing when you have several, you know, the different school districts?
I'm gonna write this down because it's a lot real quick.
But we're still gonna have to fix 13, you know, so 13 is that, you know, 20%. You know, and granted, maybe split this up, and push a little bit more into 12. That's gonna be really tight, so we really can't do much with 12 and 13 as far as moving people into that.
You'd almost, you'd almost have to look at splitting the island. You know, and I mean, if you look at La Pointe on the west side, I mean, because Bad River actually has parts, they have private lands out on the east side.
They have a very small sliver, yep.
Yeah. And I mean, most of the population, I'm guessing, without looking, is probably within the village. But if you split half, if there's 200 and some there, to a point, 261, if we split the village off and lump that into the city or something, I don't know where we put them, but that might get us down 100 and some.
The problem is you're gonna be taking from 13 and moving into 12.
And that won't work.
13's too big. You can't
Correct.
add anything to 13, you have to take away from 13.
Right.
I understand, what I'm saying is, if you took and then added those, that 100 and some people that are taken from the village or points and put them somewhere else, you take 120 some people from 13 and put them to 12, draw your line in some way to do that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is reshuffling the deck, if you will.
So make them part of the city district here, like number 10.
Yeah, perhaps. I'm just thinking out loud, you know, as far as and I don't know what line you use up there, how you do it, but. If you
Well, there's, you know, if you were at the map right here, you could split off, you know, you
You
could
gotta do it for distance there, right?
yeah, if you just did
By
this
blocks,
30,
yeah.
20, 37, 6, there's 100 right here,
Right.
you know.
You could take those 33 from the north portion there, you'd have, you know, roughly half.
Or you could just do that right there.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
I think I have a pretty good idea on how I'm gonna fix 12 and 13, but I can put that into consideration too.
Want to share that with us?
You know, that's not, you know, that would be a bad idea because.
You have an idea how you're gonna fix it? Are you gonna share that with us?
Sure. Decreasing. And so maybe we dump 100 people in there, that's gonna help our rest of our domino effect.
So
Stops us from having to draw bigger lines or different lines all over itself.
No, yeah, I mean, in granted, 10's gonna be over because 10's already at 796. But then you're gonna bump 10 into that's gonna go down to 9 and whatever, you know, so. You're gonna have to reach it in all the city.
So Dick, my original idea was just what we talked about earlier, where we take and split the city of New Odena and put some of that into 12. And then just where I have District 10 kind of coming into Sanborn, just kind of start picking pieces there as I need to. So this section right here.
Now, is that outside of,
This is the city of Ashland line. So this would just be a new ward in the town of Sanborn. But the person that lives in District 10 would, you know, essentially have to cover those people as well.
so is that affecting, is that outside of Lake Park Road?
Correct. So Lake Park Road is over here. And then here's Johnson Road. And this is Rectal Road with the boat landing on it. So.
So where those people then that you're just talking about, they're voting in Ward 10 of Ashland?
No,
As of right now, Ward 10 of Ashland ends at the city line.
they would vote in Sandburg. But the Sandburg clerk, correct, would have a ballot that says you live in that new section, you're voting for 10.
Correct.
So they,
That's hard for people to get that.
in a sense, then they'd be voting for a city council member who can't represent them in their town.
Ah,
Yes.
I see. So we can't take from the city
You know, I
districts.
can see if I lived out there, that I'd be too thrilled about that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I'd be rather upset.
A city council or a county council?
A county.
County.
Well, no, because
If I were in the town out there, I want to say what's going on in my town. They've had some issues out there.
Heather, how does that work? Because they live in the town of Sanborn. And the supervisor district would only be the,
Well, just like it is now, you know, if they're in town of La Point, but they have a county board supervisor that lives in Odena, I mean, they still represent.
Their county side.
County side, right?
but they wouldn't be voting for a city
No,
chair or council member because they don't live in the city.
for the county, yeah.
Correct,
Okay,
correct, they would just vote for their supervisor, but they couldn't, not on.
okay. That does. Yes, that does. For me, at least.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what Dick does? He's on the city council and the county board in his district?
Yes,
I don't know how city,
Yes,
the answer is yes.
they run one in the
But-
same right now.
But potentially, and use Dick as an example, his county district could be different geographically than a city
Then a
district.
city district.
Yeah,
But right now they run the same.
right. But if the city changes, that could confuse that issue.
right, so we're gonna present this to the county board. They're going to approve it. And then it'll be forwarded to all the municipalities for them to take a crack at this.
Okay.
And if they want to propose changes, then they will bring that back to us and we'll look at their proposed changes but we have final say. So they could, at that point, if they don't want to work with us and we don't want to work with them, we could have different lines.
We got time for all this?
No.
No.
We don't have time for all this.
No, we don't. So here's my recommendation. Brittany's got some good feedback from you. If you guys have time, why don't we meet next Tuesday, 31st? You don't have to do any packets. We don't have to put anything out. We'll just put a notice out and just say we're gonna meet, no information. We'll just do it live. You have all the way up until, Tuesday morning, the 31st. To work on this.
Perfect.
And
Get it
then,
right.
and then we meet again on the 7th. Because that way you will have another week to do the final. So that way, I guess the question that, is there any other feedback that you want Brittany to look at? I mean, there's a lot of work she's got to do. If somebody's really super strong on something, we'll try to incorporate it. And we can do more than one plant. And we can do a couple plants. The problem is it's going to be,
Time consuming.
she only has so much time. to do this.
Exactly. The last week, I pretty much just spent all of my time redistricting, so I'm falling behind on addressing and all kinds of things, so. I don't want to spend too much more time.
Yeah, I hate to see it rushed because we got a deadline, because then you rush and then you realize That wasn't right either.
Right, but
And
really,
this-
I think we're fixing the 5-town issue of District 20 though.
Right.
I got a feeling you're gonna have a lot of angry people with after you.
Well, I think any
Why?
redistricting is gonna
No,
cause.
I don't, because I think people down in the southern part of the county will be happy to elect somebody there. And then you don't have to worry about covering that huge 40-mile, because you have a 40-mile radius, it's one way. I think you and them will both be happy.
So in this map here, District 20, who was the supervisor for District 20 before this?
Maxine.
Maxine Feinsteiger.
Right now, Kathy is.
Oh, currently Kathy is. Kathy covers from here all the way up to here.
That's what I've been trying to say.
So-
10 years,
I think
really?
this will help that. Yeah.
I know. I know.
So I have, unless you guys have any other suggestions, I'd like to just show you real quick the website.
Okay.
Are you guys ready to move on?
I have this tab right there.
Okay. Perfect. So,
You're gonna have to come in here and take this in.
oh yes,
And you're gonna give us that website that we can look at?
yes, yep. So you guys, if you are bored and you want to play with the lines,
No.
I will make a copy of the draft plan. And I will boldly put copy, so then you guys can play with it as you want.
We have our own separate logins so that if I go in there and start playing with it, I'm not gonna be changing your stuff.
We only have one login,
So I could possibly be in there changing your stuff then.
correct?
I don't think that's a good idea.
That raises the potential of capacity, I think.
I agree with
I mean,
Matt.
you're gonna log on there thinking that you got the draft there, and all of a sudden you're gonna get the my draft.
So to delete my plan or access my plan, you have to put in additional codes. So even though it's one login to get into this right here, to access my copy of the code word.
What is
Yeah,
that?
I'm not gonna tell you.
Yeah,
So
we-
there's barriers.
Okay, so we can get in there and do that and not worry about.
Correct, so if you,
But then
it'll
you're-
say, enter the code word, and you'll say, oh, I'm doing something wrong, because I'm not supposed to do that.
I can do it.
So this is, as soon as you log in, this is what you see. The username is Ashlyn,
Is that a capital A or it doesn't matter?
capital A. I'm gonna give you the password after we're off the meeting, so that it doesn't go to the public, because we can only make 200 plans.
Right. But Ashland, does
Ashlyn,
that have to be capital A?
capital A.
Okay.
So this is when you get in there. This is what you see. You're gonna scroll down. Right here, it says create or load new plan. So you'll just say new plan. And then give it some name. So I'll just do a test here.
Why don't we just use our last name so that if there's any confusion, we know
That would be great.
who.
Okay.
We just all agree to do that, use our last name for the plan we want to play with.
Yep, so if, just using Gary as an example, so Mertic 1 or Mertic 2, if you make another plan, that kind of scheme. You have to put
I
an
put your
email
name in there.
address.
You don't have one.
You have to put an email, a valid email address, so.
Email.
And then you have to come up with your own plan password, so that this is that passcode that I was speaking of. And so this is where you get to click if you want to use a fresh start, so there are no lines on the map right now, or your currently enacted plan, which is the 2010. Or if you would like to choose Plan B, which is the one we've been talking about today.
Oh, Plan A,
Plan A is the 2010.
okay,
Plan B is the one we've been talking about today.
the current one.
The one
No,
we've been,
the new one.
yeah, the new one. Okay. And then you push create.
Create. I'm not gonna change it.
So this is what you see. You get in here and let's just go to City Hill. So on the left hand is your tools. So it's probably going to take a while. It took me a minute to get used to what you have to click on and everything. Right now, I'm going to change District 18 to District 17 to District 18. So I want to be assigning District 18. So I'm going to go to 18 and then click this little pencil here where it says assign. And then I'm just going to click that boundary there. That census block. It is not. Oh, so right now all of the locks are on over on this side, on the far right side. Yes. So if you scroll down on the left side, there is a toggle locks. So turn the locks off so that you can go back up, make sure you're on the district you want to assign by this. And then assign, click it so it's red, and then now we should be able to bring those things in. So that's just a simple click and drag right through there. So if I want to turn that back to 17, change it to District 17, assign, the thing is red, so then I can just click it again.
So when you take those out of that section, then when you're done, does the numbers change automatically?
Correct.
Okay. So if we're playing with it, then we're deleting or adding something, those districts will change them up.
Correct, in auto updates below. So as you can see right here, 17, 18, I'm about to change them. There would change.
Okay. So on Tuesday the 31st, if people play around with this, we're going to log into here. We'll be able to see Gary's plan, Matt's plans, Kathy's plans.
Correct.
To say, here's your idea, and then we can kind of talk about it as a group to decide what, you know, what works and what doesn't work.
If anybody does create a plan, if you want to run it by me before the meeting too, just so that we can make sure that it smoothly works.
Yes,
Instead of trying to test it out
at a meeting, a public meeting.
Great.
But you have the parameters, 763 plus or minus 10%.
And it auto saves, so you don't have to do anything, it saves it. It just close right out.
No,
Yeah.
done a lot of good work on
This is amazing that you've never lived here, but you know more about us than we know about ourselves.
I do get down county. I do.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Did we set the meeting date?
Yeah, 31st.
What time? Same time?
Mark, I have 2 more surveys that people filled out. Do they go to you or Heather?
You got a motion to adjourn on the table?
I seconded it.
Second. All in favor, say aye.